My name is Csaba Moldicz. I'm the head of international school at the Mathias Corvinus Collegium. My research focus is EU-China relations.
In January, the BYD, the Chinese car manufacturer, has just announced to open its first new energy car factory in Hungary. So what do you think about this?
If you look around in the world, so what you can see is the automotive industry is changing. The new technologies, new ideas, and obviously the emerge of electrical cars we can see. In order to keep the Hungarian competitiveness in this sector, so we simply need new investments, and on the other hand, technology transfer. And these kind of investments, like the BYD, include both elements, right? And technology transfer is important. So the problem with the Hungarian economy that we are asymmetrically dependent on the West. And in terms of capital, in terms of trade, in terms of technology, we are more reliant on the West. And this kind of asymmetrical dependence must be somehow reduced. And one tool of this process is the diversification of trade and investment relations and even technology transfer.
Hungary was also very actively engaged in the Belt and Road Initiative of China. So what do you think about this kind of cooperation, and how this kind of cooperation between China and Hungary can contribute to the China-EU cooperation?
Belt and Road Initiative is a typical initiative that promotes globalization. But globalization is good because if you trade, that creates peace, right? So this is, I mean, the One Belt and One Road Initiative is not only about trade, but also peace. But if you want to trade, if you want to, let's say, improve trade relations, investment relations, you need both partners. It's not enough if China wants to achieve this one. So we need also European countries that are willing to cooperate with China. And unfortunately, if you look back at the recent years, what we can see that many Central European countries take a different stance on China. It's less friendly. Nowadays, what we can see that there are more and more sectors are being restricted or being cut off from the Chinese investors, and I think it's not a good idea. Sometimes you have the impression that China or Chinese companies are buying up Europe. But if you look at the data, if you look at the figures, what you can see is that China's role as an investor is growing, but it's still, it's not the most significant investor in Europe. So there's a let's say, criticism which cannot be justified based on the figures. Still, the United States, Canada, Japan, Australia are let's say, the main investors in the European Union. So it's a little bit too much. I mean, it's more double standards, right?
If EU members strengthen their scrutiny of foreign investment based on this European Union's plan, what impact might it have on China-EU economic and trade relations?
Look, in the short run, not too much, in that sense that trade relations are still being maintained. But in the long run, yes, definitely, because the European Union, the European economies need investment. So in order to keep European competitiveness, you must diversify. There's no other way. If you cut off the half of the world because of political reason, this is not a good idea. And China is a significant player in economy, in investment, in trade, and you cannot say, I don't trade with China because of that and that. So in the long run, that leads to problems. And if you look at the long-term perspectives of Europe, what you can see, there's a declining population. The share of the European Union or EU member states is declining in the world GDP. If you look at the technology, or the competitiveness. Let's say the traditional sectors where we still have some of the competitiveness, and this is basically the automotive industry. Mm-hmm. And especially Germany, the backbone of the German economy is the automotive industry. And without investments and without technology, they will lose this competitiveness as well. Mm-hmm. So this is a self-defeating strategy, I would say. But now we can see the influx of new investments. Maybe in a few years we will be happy to say that we created a new parts of these sectors. But actually, so what we have to understand, these development, again, is not only about China. I made a list of these battery production companies that have invested in Hungary over the course of the last 2-3 years. And there's 28, 30 companies we do speak of. But they not only come from China, they come from South Korea, from Japan, and from other countries as well, even from Germany.
Do you think that the European Union or the European Union Commission get a little bit pressured from the United States? And how can Europe do to have its strategic autonomy?
Yeah, I think the key word is strategic autonomy. And if I want to simplify, I can say that there is no strategic autonomy without military autonomy. And there is no military autonomy without solid economic foundation and advanced technology. Mm-hmm. So what the European Commission should do is actually focusing to keep these industries and to develop them. So I can accept, for example, if somebody says that this is not a good idea to rely on technologies from third countries, that's okay. Mm-hmm. But that should also include the United States, these third countries. That's the problem, that nowadays we do not include them and rely on American technologies, for example. I think it's very clear that the European Union would not be able to defend itself, so there is no military autonomy. We are reliant on the United States, and that's why the United States can easily influence, let's say, European foreign policies. Mm. So what we can see that basically Chinese companies invest in those areas where they can expect that they're gonna have profits simply. So these investments are motivated by profits, and that's good. Mm. It's not motivated by politics. The pattern is that they basically want to have more money, and that's the reason why they internationalize, why they go global to the international markets.
Recently, several foreign financial institutions have released their economic outlooks for China in 2024, and mostly are very positive with a further economic recovery and stability. Some even suggest a growth rate of around 5.3%. Mm-hmm. So what do you think about this kind of outlook?
There are certain elements that can cut into this growth, mostly from outside. Global uncertainties, geopolitical problems, or even the fluctuations in the commodity markets, energy prices, etc., etc. Something, because we are unfortunately we are living in an insecure world, and that's the reason why I'm a little bit less optimistic. Mm. But I can quote the American Canadian economist Kenneth Galbraith, who once famously said that the only purpose of macroeconomic forecasting is to make astrology more respectable. So it's not that unsure, obviously, but still there are a lot of uncertainties around that, and obviously domestic demand, Chinese domestic demand will be important in the outcome. Basically, I try to refer to the purchases of Chinese households, because they can create a growth and increase in global demand, and that's what has an effect on global growth rates as well.
Over the past 40 years, the Chinese government is always focusing on its openness policy. Mm. So how do you evaluate Chinese government's next steps? Will this kind of openness policy going on be continued?
Opening up economic reforms. I guess this is a very reasonable path to continue, and this path and open up the economy more. There are certain elements, I mean, it's not only trade and investment, but obviously cooperation in education, culture, people-to-people relations are extremely important. But this is a long road, I know, because it is much more difficult to let's say, to bring Chinese culture closer to Europeans than, let's say, American was. In this case, Americans have, let's say, competitive advantages, as the economists would say. But that requires a lot of investment from the Chinese side, investment in terms of capital, and even investment in thinking how they can open up the country not only economically but also culturally.